Doing well. I'm Dr. Milind. So there are a lot of questions about which books to follow, and in this era of app-based learning, as we have a lot of online classes, how relevant are review books? So some students about they ask about sir which books we can use for previously asked questions, and is there any recommendation that I want to give for INICET? So I have one book recommendation for INICET, especially for the students who are particularly planning for INICET. So let's talk about these things. First of all, the most discussed book, USMLE First Aid. Is it must? See, guys, let me tell you, it's not must for any exam. It's not must for NEET, PG, and NICT. Then you'll ask me, sir, why do you keep recommending this book to all of us, and why there are a lot of YouTubers they keep recommending this book? So I'll tell you a very small story. When I was preparing for my exam, as I have told you guys in my previous videos, my target was AIMS. So I was trying to figure out that what need to be what need to be done for this particular exam. So when I was preparing for my exam, I was getting very good ranks. Like in when I started writing my aims, I was getting a rank within thousands, but within 1,000. But I was not getting those cream ranks like in top 200. So I was still searching for that. That what is that thing that is missing in my preparation. So I was going through a lot of interviews of all the toppers, like last 4, 5, 6 years of toppers. I read their interviews. What I found that one common factor in lot of interviews about USMLE First Aid, one topper he wrote this one line that he read first aid and he felt that it somehow helps. I mean, he does not know that how it helps and how you should read it, but he said that he read it nicely and it somehow helped in his exam. So I took his word as for me, and as some proof or something, and then I started reading this book. I enjoyed reading this book, and then when I wrote my exam, I realized that I was able to recall a lot of material from first aid because it's very concise and it's given in a very in a tabulated form. There are a lot of mnemonics and images also. This book is easy to revise, so I feel that this is a good book, but definitely this is not must. You can definitely do a great, you can get a great rank even with your notes. So let me clear this point that this book is not must. Also, a lot of students recommend a lot of USMLE related material for aims and INICET exam. See, at some point of time it was very relevant. Like when I wrote my one of my aims exam, when I came out of the exam hall, we had one question about nuclear scintigraphy and I think some thyroid scan we had exam. So I just searched on the Google about that particular thyroid scan image. And the image that popped up, which was exactly the image that they had asked in our exam, was actually one of the question bank of USMLE. So then I also felt like these examiners are that maybe they are getting inspired from USMLE kind of pattern, because that was the time like in 2018 19 they had started introducing image based question. So that was the backstory for it, and that is why the USMLE first aid book became very popular, because they were trying to make more of a clinical questions, more of a clinical based scenarios in exam paper, and they started introducing videos and these all images in the exam, and I think this was the starting point. But I feel now we have evolved and the exam has changed, and a lot of now the questions that are coming are not completely, it's not like that you have to study the emily based sources for INICET or IMSS. Even if your notes are enough, because now they are formulating their own questions and the exam pattern has definitely changed. So I feel that yes, one book that from this part that can be used is USMLE First Aid. Now about annotating in first aid, lot of students recommend like you can annotate and you can write a lot of notes. See, I'll tell you my personal opinion. I feel that USMLE is a very concise book, and I'll give you one small example. It's like a butter that we use in our food. Like if you want to eat a paratha, if you want to have your khichdi or rice, you add a spoon of butter, right? To like it will taste better and it will also give you a lot of energy. I feel first aid is like that. So your main preparation is your main course, like your notes and the preparation material that you have. First aid is like butter. You read like 2 3 pages to it. You enjoy reading it. Your brain will retain it. Now, what will happen if you keep annotating in it? Now you have two different sources. Like if you read your anatomy notes or physiology notes or biochemistry, and you annotate a lot of information at the same time in USMLE First Aid. See, I say USMLE First Aid is not an easy book to read. There is so much of so you can formulate like a lot of questions from a single book or a single page of USMLE First Aid. So if you add so much of material to this single page, you will it's like if you, instead of adding a 1 spoon of butter to paratha, what if you add half glass of butter to the paratha or a khichdi? You won't be able to digest it. You'll feel nauseous. You'll feel like vomiting. Similarly, I feel if you add so much of information to your civil first aid, which already is a high yield and very concise book, so I think it's very useless and it is going to confuse you further. So keep your notes separate. Keep revising them regularly and read first aid as a fun way. Like reading 3-4 pages a daily, and it's not a big book. So even if you read 3-4 pages a daily, it won't be a much problem. Now, student ask me about replacing first and second prof subject with first aid. No, see, first aid has a lot of information, as I said, but definitely there are some. If you say, some questions are Indian examiner's favorite, so maybe these questions are not there. Some things in Indian context are different, like most common causes about in pathology and all. So definitely you should not completely replace, and you should solely rely on your notes. Don't completely replace it with, as I said, use it as a supplementary, not as a substitution. Now, coming to the next point, a lot of students ask me about, sir, what are the best sources of previously asked questions? Because I'm not very comfortable with the apps and their previously asked question. I am very comfortable with like a physical book. So for INICET, I would recommend, Pritesh Singh sir's book is very good. It has a very good explanation. It was INICET Essence first. Before that, there was AMC Essence, and there are very lengthy explanation. I understand the explanations are very lengthy, but trust me, they are required. You cannot omit them, and the explanations are required. And why I say that these explanations are required, because particularly this INI exam or AIMS has a habit of introducing a particular topic. So what they do, they will introduce one topic. Like for example, they will introduce one question, and in the next exam they will start. In the next exam they will ask a further advanced question from the same topic. So if you are familiar with the topic, if you already know about everything about the topic which are given in these explanations, so you would be able to answer that question better in your next exam. So that is why reading these explanations is very important. Also, you don't have to read this book page to page and line to line again and again. Whenever you get, like when you solve a question, then you get an answer. So if you get an answer wrong, you read that explanation and you star mark that question. So when you revise, you just revise this question. You don't read everything. You highlight the important points and you go with that. So when you revise this book, so you will become faster. Your pace will be faster in the next whenever you are repeating. Now, if I have to talk about like one more book, I would like to recommend about. A lot of students say, sir, how many PYQs should we solve? So for INICET, I recommend you can solve at least last 5 years. That will be 10 sessions. Also, AIMS and JIPMER. Like before few years, it was not INICET. JIPMER was separate. PG I don't recommend because there are multiple choice questions and they will confuse you. So why JIPMER is important? JIPMER was way ahead during their exam periods. Like if you are like the people who have given JIPMER exam in their like before they're joining their PG, they know that JIPMER will always ask a very advanced and very recent topics. So whatever questions you will see in recent INI exam or maybe one session back, you will find those questions already in JIPMER. Like if you go back like 4 5 years, you will see that JIPMER has already asked these questions. So definitely I recommend go through these questions of JIPMER at least last 5 years. I can go as long as 8 years, but at least 5 years. So when you already know the answer, it's like a cheat code, and you get that question right, and the value of one question is very important in such kind of competitive exams. So, sir, this is Tiaran Babu sir's book, and it's a very good book with very good explanations. Now, this is my personal recommendation for a lot of students, and this is not something I'm promoting, but I want to, this book that I want to recommend to the students who are particularly preparing for INICET. I'll tell you why. You'll be saying, sir, a lot of YouTubers and everyone is coming with a new book every day and, new thing every day. So what should we do it? We are so confused what to follow and what to not. But I'll tell you something. See, examiner is always one step ahead of you. Like when the last INICET happened, a lot of students talk about INICET that there were a lot of recent advances and new things, they are asked in INICET. So about biochemistry, and they went to very basic questions. So some students even said ki NCRT level, when they ask questions like you have to book, maybe you have to read the NCRT again. But I don't think you have to do that. I'll give you one alternative option. So this Across book, it was very famous earlier, like maybe a few years back, it was very famous amongst the students who are preparing for PG. It's a very difficult book to read. But what I like about Across, they have taken the explanations, the paragraphs directly from the standard books. So as I said, that basic sciences and first and second prof subject form a foundation of your INICET. If you are good in those subjects, you'll definitely get a good rank. Now, if you are someone who have not read textbooks in your undergraduation and you are not very fond of reading a textbook, but AIMS ask questions directly from the textbook, like very basic questions. And whatever questions of biochemistry you had, you will find it in Harper's. Whatever questions of physiology, you'll find it them in Gano. So what I will say that when you go through this Across, the explanations that are given in Across are literally copy pasted from all the standard books. So I'm not saying that you should buy Across for all the subjects, but at least for anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry. For these three subjects, I think you should have Across. And I'm not saying that you read theory. There is a theory in Across, followed by MCQs, followed by explanations. So I will say don't read theory, but at least solve all the MCQs for anatomy, physio, and biochemistry from Across and read their explanation. If explanation is not given, see in the theory part about that that particular question, and trust me, you will find a very basic and very important and very high yield material, at least for these three subjects. And this is very important. So if you're someone who is targeting for INICET and who feels that notes are not adequate for these three subjects, and now you can't open the textbook and you can't go back to like NCERT or other books, definitely this book I would like to recommend. Now coming to the last part about NEET, a lot of students ask, sir, which are the books good for previously asked questions. So definitely there are good books which are there since a very long time. One is Mudit Khanna sir's All India PGME book and NEET PG book by Thamin Saif and Apur Mehra. These are also good book with good explanation. Again, as I said, whichever question you get wrong, star mark it, read the explanation, and during revision, only read the star mark question. The questions which you got right, you don't have to read them because they are in your notes. So that's all I wanted to tell about review books. I hope this video will help you. And if you have any question and doubt, let me know in the comment box. So I wish you all the best.